Welcome to Wrestling with My Brothers, bringing wrestling from our family to yours.
Welcome back to the episode before Double or Nothing pay-per-view. This is Wrestling with My Brothers. I'm little sister Emily.
I am the big brother, Derek.
And I'm your little cousin, Ethan.
All right, well, let's jump into the episode of May 20th for AEW Dynamite. To begin the show, we had Jon Moxley versus 10 from the Dark Order, with Jon Moxley getting the pin. Afterwards, we had MJF versus Marco Stunt, and MJF, of course, won. And then we had Rey Fenix, and he beat Orange Cassidy, and then a whole bunch of chaos after that. Following that, we had the women's tag team match with Nyla Rose and Britt Baker on a team versus Hikaru Shida and Chris Statlander on a team, with Nyla Rose and Britt Baker taking the win. And then we had Shawn Spears, and he was like, Dustin retired, but I'm going to challenge Dustin. So that was interesting. And we finished with Matt Hardy defeating Sammy. Then more chaos with the Inner Circle and the Elite fighting off in the football stadium. So let's start with who retained championship.
Let's start with my hot take, because and still your undefeated, undisputed, reigning AEW champion, Derek Shaneman. Not only that, a perfect card.
Yeah, you had a perfect card.
I believe I had a perfect card. Not surprised. I did say that I was going to do it. And I'm so happy that both times that I have won have been on two of the best shows, because I'm going to give this show a 9 out of 10. It was awesome. And not just because I'm still champion and I'm riding that high, but because it had everything you needed. It was good story building, had some really fun video segments and some good promos, good matches. Even the matches that would have been squash matches had some more entertainment value to them, and I really enjoyed them. I don't know, maybe it's the fact I'm excited. It's a go-home show before the pay-per-view, but I'm pumped. I'm pumped. It was a great match to end it. It was so exciting with some cool spots of people showing up, and I loved it. I loved all of it. I loved the acting. I loved the funny stuff. It was just great, guys, and I just feel good because I'm still champ. So, there's that.
I hate that you're champion, but I gotta agree with you. Tonight's show, amazing. Maybe not a 9 out of 10, because there were a couple things that really bothered me, and we'll get to that, but mine was a definite 8 out of 10, with probably the reason it losing the 2 stars being the commentary and the women's match.
Really? Oh, interesting. Okay.
Ethan?
Interesting.
I don't know what episode you guys watched. I was really disappointed. I thought for the episode before Double or Nothing, the matches could have been way better. Maybe I'm in a different mindset than you guys, but I really was bored for the majority of this night.
Oh.
I mean, really until the Orange Cassidy and Rey Fenix and then the Sammy G and Matt Hardy matches, I was bored. I didn't like watching it that much. So I guess we'll get into that. I'd probably give this one a 7, 6.5 out of 10.
Wow. Ethan.
Especially for the episode before a pay-per-view. I was disappointed.
Ethan,
Dang.
Again, you're just wrong. I don't know what you were watching. Plus, the 2 matches you brought up were half the show.
Yeah, those matches were half the show. The other half of the show was terrible. So I could have given it a 5 out of 10 if that's the thing we're going off of.
Oh, but then you'd have to say the rest of it was a 0 out of 10. I just disagree. We're going to get into it, but man, I already know which match is pulling you back. Everyone knows. Anybody that's listening to the podcast knows. But you're just wrong on it, and we'll get to it.
Is it because he's such a Marco Stunt hater?
That was absolutely that was a terrible match. And
No.
we'll get into it. We will get into
True.
it.
Okay, then let's get into it. Tell us your worst
Yeah.
moment, worst match, so we can debate with Ethan. You start us off.
All right, worst match. MJF versus Marco Stunt, because it was boring.
Oh, my gosh.
My notes. MJF is very versatile, very athletic, and puts on a good show. However, when his opponent is the size and weight of a Chihuahua, it makes for a very dull match to watch. The crowd was getting into it, which was very telling of these people were paid to cheer for Marco Stunt. I didn't like it. MJF puts on a good show. I'll give him that. He's a great heel. He makes me hate him, but he doesn't make me like Marco Stunt anymore. You know, we had this talk about how Rio should not have been able to hit Nyla Rose during that championship match, and how Nyla Rose selling to Rio didn't make any sense. MJF selling to Marco Stunt doesn't make any sense, which there are some no-sell moments, which there should be, but every moment should be a no-sell moment because Marco Stunt's not a wrestler.
Gosh. Okay, Ethan, I'm going to be the first to jump in. I will agree that parts of this match, the beginning of this match was awkward because I want Marco Stunt, if he's not going to be strong, which he's not, to be smart. And him just wailing his arms in the beginning and trying to lift MJF is not smart, but it made for great entertainment. There was that awkward move where like it was like a hug lock. It was just uncomfortable. It was just like, you know, the one where
Yeah, that's the bear hug lock. Yeah.
the bear hug
Absolutely.
lock. Not a fan of that. But then the second half of the match where like Marco Stunt was using his speed and his wit, I thought it was sold beautifully and it told a great story. I was chuckling. It was an amazing match. And I love Marco Stunt being fun size. So good.
Ethan,
I don't know.
You're a sizist. If they're small, they can't have a good match. This is just telling, and you compare it to the Rio Nyla Rose one, which we've talked about. But the Rio Nyla Rose one was Rio hit Nyla Rose with I think a regular chop, and Nyla made it look like she took a sledgehammer to her chest. But Marco, and they even sell it on the commentary, which is what I really loved, is like how they talk about how since he doesn't have power in his arms, he has to use those drop kicks to work like a normal person's uppercut. So they played into what those were, especially with commentary.
His drop kicks were good.
And it was all about speed. That's the thing. He wasn't doing anything that was like he shouldn't be able to do that. It was all about like running away, dodging and stuff. And it was entertaining, and it kept it from being a total squash match, which is what we've been wanting them to avoid. And
I disagree
they did
completely. I think it was absolutely a squash match. I think just because Marco Stunt got one or two drop kicks off doesn't make it not a squash match. And we had no MJF for a month. And then we get MJF versus Lee Johnson, which was a 10-second match that I know MJF is going to win. And it's not fun because I don't like Marco Stunt. Maybe that's just me. I clearly have a bias against Marco Stunt that makes his matches less fun for me. But I don't want to watch MJF run around and chase Marco Stunt like a little cat and mouse game. I'll turn on Tom and Jerry if I want to watch that. That's not my professional wrestling that I want to watch. I want to watch MJF versus Matt Hardy, MJF versus Adam Page, MJF versus Kenny Omega. He's clearly shown that he's good enough to compete. So why is he fighting Lee Johnson and Marco Stunt?
Because he's got you worked up and in the palm of his hand like a heel, and that's what he wants. And that's what he's getting. He's making people mad.
It doesn't make me mad because he's a heel. It makes me mad that I'm getting a shitty show card.
I mean, in your defense, if you don't like an actor, you're probably not going to like even the best movie. I get that. But I think you're selling what they were able to pull off and what they were able to keep it from being. Because I think it could have been a complete train wreck. And they were able to at least make it a little bit interesting, and there was a moment. And that's all you got to ask for in like a Marco Stunt or one where you know the winner going into it is a moment where you just second guess it. When he like went into the stairs and stuff, there was just that moment of, is there going to be some weird upset that just throws MJF into a tantrum? I liked it. But
I loved it.
You're entitled to your opinion.
Good for you guys. I'm glad you guys liked it because it means that you had more fun than I did. I didn't have very much fun watching this episode. So I'm jealous. I wish I could like it.
Now tell us about your worst moment.
Oh, the worst moment for me, I'm a Shawn Spears fan. I like his wrestling. So I hate watching him desperately grasp at straws for matches. He should be in that 9-man ladder match. He should be in the tournament. He should be getting pushed. And yet he has to come out here and challenge somebody who's retired just to get a match on the show. I feel like Shawn Spears is desperate, and I don't like it.
It was so funny. That made me laugh so hard. I was laughing like it was an SNL skit.
I guess my worst moment isn't because I like him in that promo was good. My worst moment, I guess, is just overall what they're doing with Shawn Spears. I dislike. I wish he
Yeah,
was
they're
getting
not.
more of a belt push because I think he deserves it.
Well, I'm excited to see him versus Dustin because I think they're going to put on a phenomenal match. But like you said, it didn't feel like they built this right.
Yeah, it just feels like
like
he's challenging whoever he can.
Like he's made comments about the Cody and Dustin thing. It would have been nicer if they did this thing a couple weeks in a row. Different breaking news of false news about Dustin and Cody and stuff. And it felt like it was a little bit last second. So I can agree with that part of not liking the build.
Oh, I disagree. I like the build a lot because he, with his promo last time, came in and was like, Cody, you're ruining it for your brother. You wouldn't save your brother? I'd save him. And then he then turned it around in a really brilliant way to where his dissing on Cody transformed into dissing on Dustin. And I feel like anytime you have a match against the Rhodes, that is a really good push for you in the company.
Right. And I agree with you, Emily. I think what the problem was the interviews. They lacked continuity. Like I said, like if you would have done like a segment like this each week, it would have built to this good. You know what? Breaking news, I'm challenging this old retired man. He had like 3 different type of interviews. One that was like by himself on like a webcam, and then one that was like with his coach, and then this. It just lacked continuity. So it didn't feel like a steady build.
That's fair. Okay. Yeah, I see that.
I disagree with your statement about a match with a Rhodes means that you get a push, because Sean Spears had a match with Cody like a year ago, and he's gone nowhere since then. And Darby Allin's fought Cody twice, and Darby's not even in the tournament for the TNT Championship anymore. I don't know. I feel like it's not. I feel like if you fight at Rhodes, then that's them pushing themselves.
Yeah, maybe. Wait, is Darby not in the TNT tournament anymore?
He's not in the TNT tournament anymore, but he's in the 9-man for the heavyweight. He's in that. I mean, I'll give you that. He's in that contention, but I mean, he was like round 1 out of the TNT tournament.
See, and I disagree. I think Emily's got something. I can see with Sean Spears on an individual level, because Sean Spears really, he had that match with Cody, and that's where he's been sitting, is in this like weird dispute with Cody that's not even like a Cody rivalry, and their matches don't have a good build. But Darby Allin, dude, came into the company with really nothing. And then after that match with Cody has exploded. Fan base wise, has gotten pushes. He was in the TNT tournament. This is a guy that no one knew anything about, and has a phenomenal tie match with Cody, and his career has exploded. So I do think that having a match with a Rhodes pushes you. I just think specifically Sean Spears, like you said, this moment is like, man, they missed an opportunity, which is why I can see your worst moment.
Yeah, but we've been on me for too long. I'm tired of the spotlight. Get off of me. Somebody else talk.
You know what? You know who likes the spotlight? The champ. The champ likes the spotlight. And I've got my worst stuff. I'm going to kind of echo what you guys said last week on the podcast. A worst match doesn't necessarily mean a bad match. But I'm going to go with something that I kind of did last week, where it wasn't that what happened wasn't entertaining or story building, but there just wasn't much of a match. And that would be the Jon Moxley versus 10 match. We got to see a couple of cool things from 10. I really liked, I think it's the ripcord cutter. I always like to call it the RKO, but like a ripcord into an RKO. And you got to see his strength and stuff, and he looks like an athlete. So I'm excited to see if they do anything with 10 as a character in the Dark Order. But it just didn't feel much like a match. It felt more like a beating that's just leading to this big Jon Moxley, Brody Lee thing. And so that's what my worst match was, just because it really didn't feel like it was much of a match at any point.
But Moxley broke his arm. That was cool.
Yeah, but that was after the match.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I was definitely surprised when I first started watching that match. I was like, okay, here we go. 5 seconds in, this match will be over. And there was a lot. I mean, 10 definitely was much better than I thought he would be.
Yeah, I don't think it's my worst because of all of the stuff. Sorry, I feel like I'm talking over you so much today, Derek. My bad.
No, you're good. You just don't want the champ to speak. You want to quiet the champ. I see.
I just feel like I enjoyed that match so much as an opener, even though I knew about halfway through that I was going to lose the championship and the not win. I just really enjoyed 10 and his performance, kind of like Ethan was saying, and it was just a really great start. I disagree that it's the worst match. I actually agree with Ethan's pick for worst match more than yours,
Yeah,
but I liked both of them a lot.
The reason I didn't go with Marco Stunt versus MJF is because I was entertained pretty much the entire time. The bear hug was weird, I'll give you that. But like everything else, it was either fun to watch MJF beat the crap out of Marco Stunt, or it was fun to watch Marco Stunt kind of pull some things over on MJF and him get upset. And then the stairs, when he like hit those stairs, I was like, okay, what's going on here? And like Ethan said, and maybe they were paid to do this, but you really got to hear that wrestling crowd that they've been so good about having during all of this like coronavirus stuff. You really heard them, and it felt like a real crowd. I think I like that and some of the atmosphere it gave off. And again, like I said, it's not necessarily that it was a bad match. It just didn't feel like much of a match at all. That's my worst match. My worst moment, and I struggled to really pick a worst moment because I didn't feel like there were a lot of bad moments throughout the night. But I think the one that I really didn't like was the Arn Anderson, Jake the Snake.
The face-off?
The talk fest. I don't know. It felt like it would almost lack the script to an extent. Like, I'm sure if you were to go and watch like a highlight video of that, they could make it seem really cool because there were some cool things said. But they lacked direction in what they were talking about. They kept talking over each other, but not in like a good storytelling way. Like I'd go to hell with you again. And then Arn like wanted to make sure that he said a piece that he said instead of playing off this whole like, let's fight. And it just felt like, are they talking about the wrestlers or themselves fighting? Are these men going senile? What's happening? And so that was probably my worst moment.
I agree. Go for it, Ethan.
But Mike Tyson is out of retirement.
Yeah, but Emily announced that. We don't need them to tell us that.
But I felt like Arn Anderson was leading to, and he might have even just said it, like Mike Tyson's going to fight somebody.
Yeah.
Like he's going to wrestle.
It was weird though, right? Because they were like, I'm hearing that Mike Tyson gets to do whatever. And then Jake the Snake's like, I'm going to knock him out, but I'm going to let Lance Archer do it. It was just, I was like so confused.
Yeah.
I could not follow it.
I want to defend them so bad because it's two legends sitting in the ring doing promos like they used to, but it's really not like they used to do. So I got to give it to you. It wasn't as good as I wanted it to be.
You and Emily say this all the time. It's like, okay, that was not what we should get from those two guys. When the expectation's up here and you fall down here. Now, if the expectation was low and then you come in low, it's not as bad of a moment. But it was a little bit sad to watch. It's like, you can kind of see the age. And also, I just was so confused the entire time. And then Arn Anderson, when they stood up to get all rough and tumble, almost fell on the table that he pushed over and like almost tripped. It just was a dead spot in the night for me. It was probably the one thing that really tanked it for me because I was so pumped and just laughing. I was
really tanked it from a 10 to a 9.
Yeah, really. Hey, I was close to a 10 this week, but you got to keep my entertainment value the whole time.
I can't believe it.
Half off with your worst moment and half correct.
Half off.
Because Jake the Snake was awesome, specifically with his one line where he's like, we all have dreams and we all have nightmares, but we know they're fake. And he was just staying high-paced and energetic, and Arn Anderson, he was going from a script, and then I don't even know if they were supposed to, because we all had predictions that like, oh yeah, Mike Tyson might be joining AEW. I think they revealed it on accident with how awkward they became, but I really genuinely feel like this is all on Arn, and I love Jake the Snake.
But Jake wasn't following. I think Arn was trying to keep them on track for like what AEW wanted them to talk about, and it felt like Jake was pulling him away and like talking over him when he wasn't supposed to. That's why Arn had to be like, don't talk over me. It just felt weird.
I think it felt weird, but it's supposed to – the thing about AEW is it's supposed to feel – like reality, even though we know it's scripted. And Jake the Snake feels like reality. He feels like that's genuinely what he's saying, and Arn just doesn't. Maybe I'm just a Jake the Snake fan. My worst moment was this very specific part in commentary after the beginning match with Jon Moxley in 10 and when it was about to transition. And it was like they all thought they were going to commercial and they stagnated. And they're like, oh yeah, MJF is coming up next. Tony's like, oh yeah, I don't like that guy. And I realized that I can't stand AEW commentary, and I found out why, because I thought it was JR, but it's not JR.
It's not JR. It's
AEW
Excalibur.
doesn't have, I don't mind Excalibur either, but it doesn't work well when you have 3 baby faces and not a single heel on commentary. They don't know how to play off each other, and it's awkward.
That's fair.
That's a good point.
I've thought in the past that I kind of like that, and I'm starting to realize that it does make for more awkward moments than need be if you had a heel to fill that stuff. Because I've always kind of looked at it as like normal sportscasting, you don't have a bad guy and a good guy. Like if something bad happens, they're both gonna be like, man, that guy's dumb. But you are right, it does make for more awkward moments, and I can see that. I can see it. And there was a few awkward moments in commentary tonight.
It took the awesomeness
Absolutely.
of Chris Jericho being gold on commentary for me to realize why I've been disliking commentary.
I cannot wait. Well, no, I can wait because I love watching Jericho in the ring. But I'm so excited to see that we could probably, once Jericho gets a little older or finishes out whatever wrestling contract they have, I could see him making a smooth transition into AEW announcing, and it would be awesome.
Well, he was our MVP a couple weeks ago for his announcing, so I'm sure we'd all love to see it.
God, that feels like a lifetime ago. What also feels like a lifetime ago is starting these worst matches. Emily, you got a worst match for me?
The women's match. It was so...
Really?
It was
I disagree.
Okay. And here's the thing. Here's the crazy thing. You guys hate on Kip Statlander all the... Not Kip, well, I messed up her name.
Wow. Kip Sabian on the mind.
Statlander, you guys diss on her so much, but she literally carried this match by herself. Literally. Carrying Nyla Rose.
Because she didn't botch anything this match. She is a botch fest normally, and we've said when she doesn't botch, she's great.
She showed her strength, and she was awesome and amazing to watch, and I loved her. So this doesn't sound like it's my worst match, but it is, because the thing is, we talked about it earlier with Nyla Rose. She shouldn't have been selling at the beginning, and she was selling at the beginning so exaggerated. She didn't seem like a beast. She seemed easy to defeat. She needs to stop selling as much.
She's like John Cena out here, freaking John Cena oversale.
Yeah.
But no, I agree with the whole night. I mean, guys, we've talked about this countless times, that Nyla Rose has the size and strength and some cool moves to have potential. But between her mic work and her selling and some botches, she just doesn't get it done for us. And
see, and I even like her mic work. I think she's fine on the mic.
I sometimes do. It goes back and forth. It's not consistent. Sometimes she's just too yelly for me. It's like, you don't have to yell everything. Sometimes that's subtle. Like if she were to approach everything like Samoa Joe does, where he kind of starts in that low tone and then just works his way up to those like intense moments, I think it'd be so great. But Emily, I disagree. The women's match for me, actually, I think had it not followed the match that it did, would have came off as an amazing match. But I mean, when you follow a great match like it had with Orange Cassidy and Rey Fenix, like it did fall a little bit short of that. But I loved all the action. I don't know if Britt Baker's really hurt, but having the doctor on the side while then you see Nyla Rose kind of push through and stuff makes you feel like, okay, here's the champ doing some stuff on her own. And we got to see a great version of Chris Statlander. We got to see some great Sheeta stuff. Britt Baker did some cool things. I think maybe she is hurt because it did lack a little bit. I loved when she didn't want to get tagged in. I loved that. Like
she did genuinely get hurt.
Oh,
we'll get to that news.
I mean, I saw Nyla come down on the knee, and it didn't look great. But sometimes you just don't know. Sometimes, like, was that supposed to happen? Was Nyla supposed to look like a beast at the end? But I really – maybe I don't know how Ethan feels. I thought it was a great match. And I'm usually the one that's like, the women's division sucks.
It was okay. I don't know. It was definitely up there because it was better than usual. But I feel like that doesn't make the best match of the night.
Mm-hmm.
It also wasn't the worst match of the night to me. But I mean, when you've got Marco Stunt in a match, that's probably going to be the worst one.
Gosh, some hate. There's some hate and some shade thrown around. I think we need a little positivity in this room. Pump it up, Ethan.
I am positive that the best match of the night was Sammy Guevara versus Matt Hardy, because those two looked like a tag team that was fighting each other. They worked so well together. And, like, Matt Hardy kind of has that, like, you can tell he's older, so he's a little bit slower. He's not going to be as athletic and as high-flying, but he still has his moments where he looks just as young as Sammy. But the fact that he knows how to work with such a high flyer and such a high-intensity person as Sammy, it was like watching a perfectly choreographed dance. Like, those two worked so well together. And then to have it all spill out into the Elite versus the Inner Circle – and the return of the man, Adam Page. That was okay. I said I didn't like this episode. The ending, I really liked. I really loved the ending of it. It was super hyped.
I didn't pick the same match, but you're not wrong in your hype for this match. It was like kind of beautiful to watch. Like, this is what wrestling should look like. And the thing is, you say like a perfectly well choreographed dance, which is also beautiful and great, but in something that you don't want to look choreographed, it didn't feel choreographed. Like, it was smooth, but it didn't feel like, okay, they're setting each other up for these certain moves and stuff. And Sammy they do such a great job of working with a completely opposite wrestler, because Matt's slower and a little bit older and stuff and does a little bit more things, but like how Sammy sells the twist of fate and just how he stopped the twist of fate that one time with the handstand. Like, there was just so many really cool moments, and it was really beautiful and great. And then it leads to the return of all these people and stuff. It was really awesome. It wasn't my favorite match when you keep what's just in the match part, but it was a great moment overall. So I do think it was awesome, but it's hard to go wrong when you have those two in the ring. So yeah, best match, definitely that match. Best moment, Adam Page. As soon as he hit the screen, I was watching on my phone and I was up in the air. I was, oh my God. So, that's going to be your best match when it's the only time in the night that you popped. Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, they did make it exciting because I didn't think Adam Page would be making his return until Double or Nothing. And he just whoosh, sprinted full force and cowboy boots.
That was a good 100-yard dash. You made some ground up quick, because you couldn't have it last too long, or then it seems like.
I wish I could move that fast in my boots.
No kidding, man. It was a really great moment, and I think his return was a little bit more epic than the Young Bucks, but theirs was cool too when they jumped off of. You got to see a little. It was like a taste. It was like, okay, hey, you're going to get a few minutes of all these guys together and a few of the things they can do so that you can taste what we want you to see on Double or Nothing.
So that you have to buy it, because.
So you have to buy the pay-per-view.
Cha-ching, cha-ching.
And you know what? That leads in great to me, because I want to buy this pay-per-view after tonight. And so to highlight some of my favorite moments will just show why I want the pay-per-view after this go-home show so much. So first off, the thing is, I don't disagree with Ethan on any of that. And I almost picked both of those things as my moments and my matches. But I think that's what showed that this show's so great, is I'm actually going to pick two other things that I think were almost as good, if not better. Match-wise, Orange Cassidy against Phoenix, it was awesome. It was so – I'm really loving getting to watch the Orange Cassidy start with the sloth style, work the way up. And what I really loved about this show as a whole tonight, and especially this match, is sometimes getting to watch wrestling makes me feel like a kid again. And so getting to laugh a couple of times while also still having a great match and it not being all comedy was great. So like when he's missing and Orange is like just ducking with his hands in his pocket and he's missing like all these things, or when they did the callback and he tried to kick him out of nowhere on the ramp when he was walking in, and Orange just steps back and then just casually walks to the ring still, and Ray's just like, he's just embarrassed on the stage. Those partnered with a great, I mean, we know these guys can work. and that they have great moves, and Orange is fun to watch. I mean, Ray Fink's is an amazing athlete. And so to me, it was just a great match to watch the whole time and so fun. And it had some really big hits while also having some comedy, while also having some high flying. It had everything I want in a good match, good storytelling, everything. And it was one of the few matches that could hold my attention when they split to commercial and the match at the same time, where I was able to really focus in on what the match was still doing at that time. So I got to see that cool, like, baseball slide that he did. Looked painful as hell when he hit Orange. So that was my favorite match. I thought it was great.
Well, you guys know I love me some freshly squeezed. I think for me, though, the only reason that wasn't my favorite match is because I've watched Orange Cassidy matches so many times, like Beyond Wrestling. After a while, you see the same moves, like catching somebody's kick while his hands are in his pocket. I've seen that before on Beyond Wrestling. I love Orange Cassidy, but part of me is like the hype is kind of gone because I've oversaturated myself by watching all of his matches like back to back. So when Orange Cassidy does something that looks like, oh, that's so cool, I've never seen that before, except I have like 3 times in his other shows. Right. So to me, I love him. I think he's great, but I've oversaturated myself. So that's why like this match came off as like, oh, it's another Orange Cassidy match. And it was great.
But what about Phoenix in the match?
Oh my God. Phoenix is like, he doesn't have bad matches. I mean, he's like the new Rey Mysterio. He's the new Prince Puma, Ricochet. He's so good.
And I would actually venture to say he's better because he's more smooth and more innovative. I think you see different things from him every time. Like, it's never the same stuff. And that's what I love. And I can see where you're coming from. And I think AEW has to not assume that people know what Orange's matches have looked like in the past. So they want to show everyone all these things that got him hyped up from Beyond Wrestling. I think that he has more than that, though. I think he's talented, and we're going to get to see more than like this script of moves that he has. I think that they just want to show why they hired him and why he was getting a push. But I thought the match overall was smooth. Again, kind of like the Matt Hardy, Sammy Guevara, smooth with some cool moments still. And it didn't feel super choreographed. It felt like a fight. And when you can make me laugh and enjoy the aggression, you're doing something right.
I mean, I will say, Ethan, that if you remember way back, there was a part of Orange Cassidy where it was my least favorite moment in his match. And then I realized watching this match that you were 100% correct. I just didn't watch enough Orange Cassidy matches because I loved everything about him this time. And it was essentially the same thing of starting in sloth style and hyping up. So it was just such a great match. Such a great match. And you were right from a few weeks ago.
It was really good. I mean, especially because like in my opinion, both of the best matches of the night also ended with like everybody from the locker room spilling out and fighting each other. That was kind of the like the test of what made a good match in this episode.
Right.
But,
and it got you hyped, right? Like for those specific matches, like getting to see who all is going to be in that ladder match and what all they can do just in that short spurt. And then getting Kip Sabian up sitting on the ladder. It was just fun. I enjoyed the fun and the aggression and the cool moves. It had everything I wanted. So that's my favorite match. I almost picked that spill out as my favorite moment. And I thought about it. And then I thought back, what was something that really was unexpected? And I don't know why. And maybe it's smaller to you guys. But when Jon Moxley did his promo afterwards, when he's like, move your car. I don't want to move my car. Pay the fine. I don't want to pay the fine. Give me my belt. I don't want to give me my belt. I'm going to break this guy's arm. Do it. Because I thought that was the worst match. So for him to kind of keep that going throughout the night and make that moment bigger than what was just a pretty simple match, I loved that.
Oh, I thought that was boring. I thought it was redundant.
And I could see that. And I could easily pick like Hangman showing up and the spill out, but I felt like those fell in those matches and stuff. I felt like this was its kind of own reserved moment. And I think I just liked how it was said. It was a good promo.
It sounds like it hit you different than it hit me and Emily, because I was a little bit bored too, but I was bored overall until the last couple of matches.
It was out of nowhere. I didn't expect it. Jon Moxley always gives a good promo, even if it's boring. It's still like you can look back and be like, okay, he said some good stuff.
Yeah, and I could totally see all the other moments. I think I just want to highlight that because it moved me in particular.
That's interesting.
Now I want to know what moved Emily.
Sorry, I just gave a weird face because I farted and my mic picked up louder than your mic, and I'm going to have to edit that out at some point.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Okay. Well, Emily, while you got the giggles and the smiles.
So my favorite match was the same as Derek's, Rey Fenix versus Orange Cassidy. It was phenomenal, a joy to watch through and through. I could not take my eyes off of it. Wow, it was just stunning. And within it, even though it was already said, came my favorite moment. And I'm going to tie in my favorite part to just the whole spill out. Kip Sabian coming out, setting up the ladder, sitting on top. Distractions are a common part of wrestling, but that was such a unique, epic distraction to promote the match. I thought it was so clever. One of my favorite wrestlers, so of course I have some bias towards that moment. It was just so unique. And my favorite thing about this, like, beat up and mass coming together is I usually hate those segments because I think they look corny and you could tell punches are being missed everywhere, and they really bring out, like, the cheese of wrestling. All of this looked so intense and really awesome.
I agree with you because I love the match, obviously. But there was some camera work when they were waiting. I want to say it's when Fenix does his jump. They were focusing on the wrestlers too much in that moment because you could tell they were setting up and still looking and waiting for him to get set up. And so that kind of shook me just a little. And so that's what kept it from being this perfect moment to me. But, I mean, obviously, I thought it was great.
Well, Ethan, unless you got something to say on the moment, I'm going to move on to news.
No, that was awesome.
Whoa.
I really liked it.
Whoa. Hey, like I'm the MVP of this podcast, we're just not going to pick an MVP tonight?
Oh, yeah. Shoot. You're right.
So what is this? Listen, I guess since I'm the one who called it out, I'll pick my MVP first. I'm going to pick Jon Moxley, and here's why. I think it's going to be probably not the favorite pick because you got Hangman, you got the Bucks, you got all these people back. But what Moxley did, and I say this always, who contributed to the show as a whole the most? Moxley took what was my worst match, and what happened after the match, he made it into good moments. And he also looked awesome in beating up 10. It's not like it was like, oh, wow, they both suck. Moxley's looking good as a wrestler. He's way more fun to watch than when he was in the other company. His promos were fire tonight. His interactions with, like, the chair and the breaking the arm where he slams the chair down and just his attitude and moniker, it's just awesome. And I felt like it took what was probably the lowest point in the night and helped keep it on par with some of the other things. Maybe a little bit below, but just raised the level of the lowest moment of the night. So to me, he was the MVP.
Your basis on who's the MVP is who contributed the most for the night. I think mine is who stepped out of their comfort zone to give us a great show. And so while it's not my favorite match, my MVP is definitely Rey Fenix because for the longest time in AEW, he's been paired up with Pentagon Jr. as a tag team wrestler. And now he's coming in and giving us one of the best solo matches ever. Sammy Guevara, Matt Hardy, incredible. But they've wrestled each other before, and they're solo wrestlers by nature. Maybe not Matt Hardy as much, but at their core, they're solo wrestlers, and especially in AEW. Rey Fenix in AEW is a tag team wrestler, and he hasn't fought Orange Cassidy before. So for him to come into a solo match against somebody who's got kind of a crazy, weird style, he really impressed me. I think Rey Fenix was definitely my favorite person to watch, even though I thought maybe the main event was better of a match.
I like Rey Fenix, so I mean, I'm definitely not against that pick. I do have to just say, since we're highlighting him, I was a little bit worried with how he fell on his springboard. His legs hit the people to catch him, but his body did not. He looked hurt after that. And the commentators kept saying, well, he might be hurt. And I was like, oh, no. Oh, no.
Hopefully we don't get a last-minute substitution for Saturday.
Yeah, which, I mean, it could be. I could easily see them throwing in Pac.
You both had good picks. Like, this is just one of those weeks where it's hard to choose someone who didn't contribute a lot to the show. Mine is Sammy Guevara. because he was in the initial promo and he had my favorite bit when they were hounding the interviewer. And he also had that beautiful, intricate match with Matt Hardy. And I love his mentality of the group in the inner circle and how he handled the football field. So mine goes to Sammy Guevara because I feel like we haven't given him enough love for being the incredible heel that he is.
Hey, I've been saying Sammy is great all along. I just don't like how much they make him lose because it's starting to get to be where it's like, he's going to lose. And I don't like that because he puts on such good matches.
I'm still going to pick him every week. I have to be right eventually.
Hey, I was glad you picked him this week. Emily said there was so much contribution. It's hard to pick. So I don't think there's a bad pick here. I just am happy that they didn't put Penelope Ford on the show, so you two were forced to pick somebody other than Penelope Ford.
Yeah, well, if she's in the show, then she's probably the MVP. But we all saw what happened during that women's match without her.
Hey, I was surprised Ethan didn't go ahead and pick like the honorable member of SCU, Colt Cabana, when he does his like springboard moonsault, but he hits two SCU guys. I thought Ethan was gonna be like, here's a guy, he comes in, he's with this team, and he just decides, I'm gonna go out on my own and I'm gonna go against him, but in a casual way. He's taking chances, and I like that. That's what I was expecting from him.
I did kind of do that by saying, Ray Fenix, he's on a team, but today he was by himself.
Yeah. That's all. If you want to be Ethan's MVP, go away from your team.
Just be on a tag team and then don't be on a tag team for 1 week.
That was a good show. So it's hard to pick a lot of things that are wrong in that other than like worst matches and stuff because we all just have different biases. But it just goes to show that this was a great go-home show because so many times in the other company, I could give a rat's booty if I watched the pay-per-view at the end of that, but I want to watch it. I can't wait. So let's get to news.
All right. So in news, Derek, you've actually said two of them without like confirming it. There were a total of 3 genuine injuries. The first of which was Ray Phoenix, and he did actually land wrong. However, they did say that he should be good to go, but he's going to take Thursday and Friday.
Oh, okay. Yeah, 2 days.
He better be okay. That would be really disappointing.
Well, It looked like he kind of came down on his shoulder, so I worried about that a little bit.
Yeah. I looked this up afterwards because I was very curious. Britt Baker definitely got injured. I don't know where her status is.
Did she tear her ACL? Because that's what I was worried about. That's what it looked like.
I didn't see if she tore her ACL because I got so absorbed into the next news because this one I didn't know. Matt hurt himself during his jump, Matt Jackson.
Really?
Either they haven't confirmed it yet, but he either has a broken rib, a bruised rib, or torn cartilage. And it is uncertain if he will be able to compete in Double or Nothing.
I could see. Here's the thing. Wasn't Matt the one that was hurt for like the Elite YouTube thing that they were like rehabbing him back? Or was that Nick?
It was Matt.
I could see this whole he hurt himself during the jump being a work so they can bring in another person. I don't know who that would be.
Zack Ryder.
I could see it could be, man. They're friends with him. I'm
don't
just
know.
saying, like, I watched that. It didn't look like he got hurt, but I could see maybe he's still hurt from that first injury. And so they had him do very minimal, and then are saying that he got hurt here so they could at least do the jump and stuff. I don't know. It feels kind of like a work a little bit, but the other two look genuinely painful.
I would say definitely like this isn't something to get your hopes up. I wouldn't count Matt Jackson out necessarily. He's probably either that wants Zack Ryder really bad.
Yeah.
I'm just saying this to myself. I don't get your hopes up.
I agree. I mean, we just don't know, and we'll see. We'll see on Saturday. Emily, a couple of other things with news. Some things that also just piqued my interest, so I wanted to find out the backstory behind it, was why Stu Grayson and Evil Uno are not with the Dark Order. So found out that there's actually a few superstars that were out of the country when this all went down, either at home or in different locations, and have not been able to take flights back or get remid to the U.S. because of COVID-19. And so Stu Grayson and Evil Uno are the only two I know confirmed right now that are stuck in Canada. So that's why they have not been on the show and with the Dark Order during this time.
That's
Same.
unfortunate.
I mean, not really, because I'm not a fan of the Dark Order, so it's fine.
I have to say that we've gotten to see a lot of Brody Lee highlighted because of this, and then we haven't even gotten to see Brody Lee, Evil Uno, and Stu Grayson together yet. So, like, what's that going to look like? Because I think they're really talented and good storytellers and stuff. So I'm excited, but that's why they have not been on AEW.
Good to know.
Now, here's the thing, fellas and ladies. My championship. Here I am defending it back-to-back weeks. Not even weeks. I mean, I have to do that every week. Twice in a week? What is this? I'm a fighting champ. I'm a man of honor. But I need some time to deliberate my picks. So, Emily, go ahead and tell the people what we're doing for our pay-per-view picks.
Wrestling with My Brothers will be doing our pay-per-view picks the day of the pay-per-view. That way we're all together, we've all had time to think about it, and we can deliver the best, most accurate pick to determine who really is the greatest champion, which will probably be me.
And until then, I am still champ. And probably after that, it doesn't matter. Bring it on. I'll defend my title 4 times in a week if they put on 4 shows.
The belt's coming back where it belongs, and you know it. You're just scared. Keep talking. Keep making your bad picks. I'll make my perfect picks next time. Thanks for listening to Wrestling with My Brothers. We hope to catch you next time.